Facilitator today is my very favorite, Stacy Messier. Stacy is passionate about bringing together the worlds of operations, customer experience, and employee experience. An expert in design thinking, agile, and human-centered design methods, Stacy shares her expertise through holistic lens across the organization. She holds a deep belief in the power of constraints and creativity, and that systems thinking combined with a growth mindset will embolden teams and produce success. Her role as General Manager of the CIC New England, Cambridge Innovation Institute, marks a significant milestone in CIC's ongoing mission to support and accelerate the growth of innovative startups and enterprises throughout New England and around the world. Stacy will deepen the connections between CIC's New England-based innovation campuses and its global network and oversee growth in the region. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Stacy Messier as our next and final facilitator. I think it might be just you two right now. So State Senator Dylan Fernandes is in session doing the people's work. We'll thank him later. And Michelle Badger is en route. Is that right, Kathy?
Yes.
So Michelle will join the panel when she arrives.
Alrighty, and Stephen, thank you so much for the opportunity, for the wonderful introduction. Fellow people of this fine ballroom, I hope you all want to renew your vows under the overhang that is above you. I'm feeling inspired. I was behind two people that were checking in and very excited about getting their goodie bags for one of the 3 weddings that is apparently happening here. Wow. And a woman said to her mother, "So I heard that Bill Nye is here?" And the lovely guy at the front desk said, "So blah, 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 restaurant's over here, blah, 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 there's a bar that will open later tonight at blah, blah, blah." She looks at her mother and she looks at the guy and goes, "Do you think Bill Nye will be at the bar tonight?" Sorry, honey, probably not. Okay, anyway, moving right along, public policy, let's do it. So, as Stephen said, I'm Stacy Messier. I'm General Manager for CIC New England. CIC specializes in the intersection of innovation and community, which is absolutely why we are here today for round 4 of the Blue Future Conference. I'm so thrilled to be participating and leading this amazing discussion with our fine, fabulous panelists. So why don't we begin just going right down the line? Give a short intro of who you are, what you're working on, what you care about.
Great, thank you, Stacy. So I am State Representative Kathy Lenatra. Thank you. I brought my own fan club. I represent a little piece of here in Plymouth, 5 precincts in Plymouth, Kingston, Plimpton, Halifax, Pembroke, and Middleborough. Yeah. Yes. I currently serve as the chair of Federal Funding Policy and Accountability, and I'm also the co-chair of the Coastal Caucus. And this is my 4th term in the legislature, and it is a wonderful experience. This is my 3rd time on a panel here, I believe, which is also a wonderful experience. I'm just surprised the bar didn't open an hour before this, but that's okay. And yes, I'm interested in hearing questions and what you have to say and what I have to say, and I'm sitting next to my good friend, Anthony.
Hi, thank you, Rep. I am Anthony Gesualdi. I'm the chair of the Rep Lenatra fan club, but also the AVP for Conservation Policy at the New England Aquarium. I've spent the entirety of my career working in public policy in and outside of state government, or in and outside of government across all levels. And we at the New England Aquarium are firm believers that conservation and economic development are not mutually exclusive ideas, and so we're super excited to be participating in this conference and sitting on this panel with Rep Lenatra and James and talking about how public policy can further those goals.
Thank you so much.
Well, James Burns, we have obnoxious titles these days. I am Senior Director of Grant Making and Operations at the Massachusetts Technology Collaborative. MassTech is one of the state's economic development agencies, so we're a grant making agency focused on cluster development. Some of our historical work you might be familiar with include the Massachusetts Life Sciences Center, which started at the Innovation Institute as one person, and then some of you might recall Governor Deval Patrick announcing that as $1 billion initiative back in the day. We also spun out the Clean Energy Center, which was birthed at MassTech as the Renewable Energy Trust. Some of our other more mature cluster initiatives include, these are all divisions at MassTech currently, the Massachusetts Cybersecurity Center, the Center for Advanced Manufacturing, and the Massachusetts Electronic Health Institute. Some of our current priorities are, as expected in a lot of instances. We are standing up the state's quantum computing initiative. We are launching the state's artificial intelligence initiative called AI Hub. We are also implementing the state's version of the EDA Tech Hub program. Hopefully you guys will be seeing some pretty big grant announcements in the next month or two coming out of that program. And the reason why I'm here is because we also have a Blue Economy initiative, which I lead.
You're working on just a few things, James.
I know.
Just a few. Okay. Well, thank you all so much for being here. I'm really excited to dig into this. I think actually where I'd like to start is actually the topic of collaboration. And James, maybe we'll start with you because you have so many things that are happening within the MassTech Collaborative. How are you approaching collaboration at the state level with both private and public industry? Are there other interesting pockets of where collaboration is happening that maybe it didn't before?
Yeah, so, we do consider ourselves as being a convener, right? And
Absolutely.
it helps that we're coming to the table with a checkbook, so we can kind of, in a lot of instances, we do force folks to work together. But we don't have to do as much of that as we used to, right? Because I think folks are more aware of the fact that when you partner industry with academia and government, you're just going to get faster and better outcomes. And you're going to be able to tackle bigger problems, which is what I think a lot of us are trying to do.
You all also have a really important track record. I feel like the initiative around life science sort of like set the tone for if we can do it with life science, we can probably do it across other industries. And I hope people take that as a moment of inspiration because even if it happens on a small scale, it doesn't have to happen with a B with a billion, but it happening at a small scale to really infuse that funding in a really smart and intentional place, that matters deeply.
Yeah. Yep, and to your point about those hidden pockets of innovation, that's kind of my favorite part of the work.
Yeah.
And a couple, we're always trying to leverage, those strengths that exist in Massachusetts that are maybe kind of not well known. So a couple of areas where we're looking at really hard now include disability tech. We have the Perkins School for the Blind right now.
That's awesome.
There's a lot of convergence in technologies that are going to contribute to that area, and Perkins School is I really believe they're going to be a center of gravity that's going to create a disability tech cluster here in Massachusetts. And then tangential to some of this work, we were recently able to put some funding into, it's out in Sandwich, Massachusetts, called the Massachusetts Alternative Septic System Testing Center. So
I have septic. How many people have septic in this room? Raise your hand. Yes, you're talking to the right audience. Keep going.
So I hope some of you have heard of them. They have been around for 20 years. And when I first learned about them, I was very intrigued. So I drove out there, and it was literally just a couple of construction trailers, a gravel driveway, a chain link fence, and 20 open pits of sewage. But we were able to partner with Barnstable County, and they were able to attract some other funding, and we committed some state resources. And, they're building research facilities out there, and they're going to be able to host companies. They have a waiting list of companies from not only out of Massachusetts, but internationally, too. And now those companies are going to be able to come. They're going to be able to set up shop in Sandwich and develop their technologies. And we know that there's PFAS, there's a lot of issues, and there are regulations coming on board for which there are no technology solutions. So I'm really excited about that project because I think we're really going to create, like I said, a center of gravity here where folks are going to have to come to Massachusetts to develop technologies to answer these issues.
That's incredible. I think this is a great segue for you, Representative, to maybe chime in on ways that you're seeing things happening within the legislature when it comes to collaboration.
Yeah, I mean, as we all know now, we're seeing lots of cuts through federal funding. So there has to be collaboration through funding, right? It has to be like a private-public partnership in some kind of way. And I'm just going to pause one moment to introduce Representative Michelle Badger, who just came in from Boston. That's okay. They were waiting patiently for you. But that we're looking at, with the committee that I chair, all I'm hearing about is cuts, constantly. And as the Commonwealth, we're looking at things of different kind of ways that we're going to be able to fund this, different types of revenue that may be coming down the pike. But it is you're going to see, I mean, it takes a collaboration these days.
Amazing, thank you. Representative Badger, if you don't mind spending a minute just to introduce yourself, tell us what you're working on, tell us who you are, and then we're talking about collaboration and the way that the private and public sector are sort of like opening new doors under these fine constraints.
Interesting times. All right. Well, I'm Michelle Badger, state representative. Thank you. State representative for the 1st Plymouth District. This is day 288, I believe, that I've had the pleasure of serving Plymouth in this capacity. Prior to this, I was on our school committee here in Plymouth for close to 14 years. I grew up here, and I'm currently, reason I am late is I'm on the higher ed committee, and we had a hearing today, and so left that a little early, and I thought I gave myself enough time, but I did not. You never Boston traffic. I'm also on housing, the Joint Committee on Housing, and I'm on Emergency Preparedness and Management, as well as the committee that Representative Lenatra just discussed, federal funding policy and accountability, that she's chair of. And as for your question, I mean, I think you said about
Collaboration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we all have to do, right? It's about working together smartly to figure out my whole life. One of my philosophies is always work smarter, not harder. And I think that's where we are right now. We're in a time where we need to look and see where people's strengths are. I mean, earlier, this isn't Blue Future related, but earlier this year, Rep. Lenatra and I held a emergency food providers group. We brought them together to find out what resources they needed, what were their struggles, and so together they can come and find out who's doing something really well in over here, and then these are the people struggling over here. How can we work together? And so I think that's just what needs to happen across the board as we enter into these times that, it's going to be a lot of coming together and finding, filling holes and just finding people who are good at things and just uplifting the good work that they do.
Fantastic, thank you. And then Anthony, why don't you close us out with how is New England Aquarium approaching collaboration? Is there something new? Is there something that's still stayed and sticking around that you're happy about?
Yeah, so like James mentioned, we also see ourselves as a convener, but a little bit in a different way. We don't quite have the checkbook maybe that James has, and so instead, we like to say that we shape our policy advocacy portfolio by leading with our science. We have the Anderson Cabot Center for Ocean Life and the Balanced Blue Lab, which are our research wings within the aquarium. They employ 50 scientists who work across a range of state, public, private partnerships, whether it's NOAA, Department of Fish and Game, WHOI, and the industry players as well, seafood industry, and they work directly to try to with the stakeholders to develop tools and innovations like ropeless fishing gear to sort of bridge that gap between conservation and economic development. And then we take that as the policy team and we try to process that internally to find a roadmap towards smoothing out public policy processes. And we've partnered with legislators like Rep. Lenatra and taking our science and applying that directly to legislation, and actually even beyond our science, some of our education work as well. And we've put that into a couple of bills. We want a whole legislative portfolio of the State House that includes at least, I think you filed 3 of our bills actually, but there's 2 main ones. One is relative to the Blue Future Economy, which helps create grant programs for workforce development in the blue economy, and then also a circular economy program as well that we've been really fortunate to work with the rep on. We had some good momentum on those last year, and we're hopeful to sort of continue that into this legislative session as well.
Amazing, my goodness. So hopefully you all are seeing and feeling and hearing that there's a lot of work that's happening both in the front of the scenes, in the back of the scenes, on the side of the scenes. Maybe let's go a little bit deeper. Anthony, you mentioned the circular economy and what you've been working on with Representative Lenatra. Maybe one of you could speak a little bit more to that. How does it benefit, locations like Plymouth and beyond? And what can folks in this room actually expect to see from that work?
I'll start, yeah. With the circular economy, it's state grants to help small businesses reduce waste, reuse materials, and innovate around sustainability. So what that means for towns like ours is it lowers waste management costs, cleaner oceans and waterways, and local jobs in recycling, manufacturing, and repair. But I just want to highlight one part of this bill that I am very partial to is the Blue Economy Education Fund, and it's within DESE, the Department of Secondary Education, and Secondary Education. And what this fund does, it will help high schools build a workforce pipeline into ocean-related science, technology, engineering, art, and math careers, which we're calling Blue STEAM. Yeah, this is like my favorite. So we're targeting students who might not have the exposure to maritime economy, and it's about connecting education, innovation, and opportunity, and it's right here in Massachusetts, and that's my favorite part of the bill, so I wanted to highlight that.
That's such a great connection to what Bill was saying earlier today about, age 10 to 12, really start to actually tap into the young minds and get them exposed to what's possible, especially as they head into high school, right? If we can help them explore what career possibilities look like, how they actually tie into workforce development in really important ways, that is a huge initiative. That's really exciting.
Yeah, and in both of these instances, in both of those policy proposals, they came out of work directly from the aquarium, and we partnered with the rep to try to put this into something that looks like a piece of legislation that can become law. The circular economy pieces through our Upswell programs, we were working with startups that were directly engaged in this. We had a company called Useful that came out of our Upswell program that was, you're gonna forgive me, Lena, I'm forgetting the woman's name, Allison?
Allison, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We got a lot of hype people in the audience today. Thank you.
And they were working with college campuses to sort of create products that could be recycled and reused
The speaker here one
yeah,
year. Yeah.
the year before last,
Okay,
right?
yes.
That's right, she was. That's a good memory. And then similarly on the DESE front, it comes out of our workforce development program, our youth development programs. We have a large range of climate teens and teen interns, and we took what we've seen as success in developing out career growth and professional skill programs and trying to apply that broadly into the blue workforce, as Rep. Lenatra stated.
Fantastic. James, I feel like a lot of the work that you're doing in Mass Tech is really meeting grantees where the grantors may be, whether that's yourselves or understanding like what's happening on the ground. Can you speak a little bit more to how that ties into the work that you've been doing this year? And maybe as you look ahead to 2026?
Yeah, so, it's an interesting situation, right? Because we have a lot of rolling grant programs, right? But we do some one-offs.
Okay.
And when we issue those one-offs, that's where we really get caught off guard and we learn more about what's going on in the ecosystem.
Wait, say more. What do you mean get caught off guard?
So, all right, good,
I need to know.
So we get caught off guard because we get proposals for projects in technology sectors that we weren't aware of.
Oh,
right?
okay,
And it's
okay.
funny, you guys are talking about the circular economy right now because, of course we're aware of it, but we hadn't seen much activity in our world in that space.
Oh.
But earlier this year, we had the ability to launch a solicitation. It was called the AI Models Challenge, where we asked folks to come at us with ideas where you're applying artificial intelligence to more traditional technologies or sectors, right?
Okay.
And our biggest award ended up being in the circular economy. And it just we usually have a list of technologies that we're either dealing with now or we think are coming around the corner, right? We're always trying to look around the corner to see what's coming. And the circular economy one kind of caught us off guard. We ended up making $1 million award to a group called Earth DNA.
Okay.
And they're applying AI to I'm not a technologist,
It's okay.
so it
Do
gets
your best.
beyond
Do your
my
best. We're all
capabilities
here
pretty
to
quickly.
support.
But they're using AI to create a circular economy for shoes,
Oh, wow.
right? Because what do you do with shoes when you're done? You kind of donate them. You
Right.
hope they may get recycled, but recycling shoes is not actually a really easy thing to do. So they're addressing that problem now, and so I think that's a great way that we kind of.
I'm realizing something. Who is unfamiliar with the term circular economy?
Good point.
Okay, there's a few folks. Would one of you mind giving a quick definition? I think the shoe analogy and the shoe awardee is probably a great example, but yeah, maybe give us a bit of a definition.
I'm not a scientist, but just very briefly, it's pretty simple. It's just keeping material products and services in circulation for as long as possible. It's sort of like a build on from recycling.
So that first
Yeah.
use becomes a second, a third, a
Yes.
fourth, a fifth
Right,
use.
it's reuse, reduce waste, reuse.
Got it.
materials
Fantastic.
and innovate around sustainability.
So I can imagine then why you were so surprised, right? Because the circular economy is in our closets, it's in our trash bins, it's in our cars, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
That
And
the possibilities are, at least, right?
And I think it really highlights the strengths that we have here in Massachusetts, right? Because it's like, we have the AI strengths, but the creativity to apply it to so many
Yes.
different sectors where you wouldn't think that AI might be applicable. That's where I think Massachusetts really leads.
That's incredible. Ooh, I'm inspired. Okay. Representative Badger, so your expertise is in education. How are you looking ahead to the ways that public policy, the economy, and education all sort of like intertwine?
Great question. I think it could go in like 27 different directions to answer that question. But I think one thing to go back to is the fact that the state of Massachusetts invests strongly in our education. I mean, we just increased the per pupil to 150 this year, which was huge, and it was a bigger increase than the year before, and it's something that we need. It's not where it should be, but it's where we're going incrementally, and hopefully will get us to what our school districts need to be able to fully fund the education they provide our students. But so we make that investment, and then I see Allison Reardon in the back over there trying to hide. And immediately she came to mind when I started to think about this question, and the real wonderful work that she's done in the Plymouth Science Curriculum Coordinator's Office with Open Syed and all of the wonderful tools that we're teaching our students science now, that K-12 model of science, not just being like, okay, here's the I don't know, the circle of the DNA, I'm clearly not a science person, sorry. Here's your molecule with the DNA, and let's look at the life of a cell. But instead it's, let's our students use their brains to figure out what's happening in front of them. So it's solve that mystery, making that love for science, instead of it being okay, here's how the cells divide and blah, blah, blah. And you just get talked at, and it's not exciting. But with the new innovative K-12 science curriculum, they're really getting that love and that for it, and seeing how it applies in all parts of their world. So I think as long as we continue to invest in science like that, we're doing a really great job at K-12. And then making those connections, like tomorrow where we're having, it's Future Works, Future Works, thank you. Future Works, showing students that are in our high schools and what they can do with that degree or that interest. I mean, how they can go into a trade that supports the sciences in some way or supports our blue economy. So I think it's just making sure that people are aware and we continue to fund and develop this, because I think there's been a lot of investment in it. We've got at Cape Cod Community College, and straight right in front of us right here with President Cox. So we have that in our backyard. We have Mass Maritime, where I had the pleasure of working for a long time, and there's a pipeline really to these schools with each other. I mean, whether you have you start at one of our Plymouth schools or our area schools, and then you go to Four Seas, and then you go to Mass Maritime, or we just need to make sure people understand how to get to this.
All those
and
career
make
pathways,
that pathway.
yeah,
And I could go on forever, and
educational.
I will stop.
No, that's super helpful. I had the good pleasure of working in online higher education for a bit, and I have still a deeply instilled passion for helping people understand how career pathways actually show up, that many of us have squiggly lines. We don't really necessarily ascend the ladder of one thing. And I think what we also heard from Bill Nye today is that both the transferability of science education, but that where countries, states, cities invest in science, we're investing in the quality of our society. That really resonated with me today. All righty, let's see. Where shall we go next? Let's talk about funding. Let's see. Representative Lenatra. So you have this very interesting role within the federal policy and accountability sort of play here within that special office. Is there something that would be helpful for the audience to understand about the work that's happening there, but then also what your personal view is, as we look upon this landscape of uncertainty and challenging times?
So I'm asked that question daily.
I can only imagine.
Yes, so if this federal funding policy and accountability is a new committee to the House, and it's a very daunting title, it's a very daunting job, it's a great opportunity for me, but what my committee does is we're transparent, we find out where our federal funds are coming, where if they're coming, right, if they're taken away, where the cuts are going to be, and we have informational hearings with New England Aquarium is an example, with museums, with the healthcare providers, we've done so many hearings, how it actually affects them, right? And what those funding cuts are going to do that will affect it, especially our small museums. We have a small museum here in Plymouth Pilgrim Hall Museum. So that is what my role is to basically give bad news daily. And it's,
I'm
for an
so
optimist
sorry
like
and
me,
so
it's
grateful.
very challenging.
Yeah.
But, funding, Massachusetts is very strong in education. We're very strong in healthcare, and we're the first of many, many things, and we're going to ensure that our students are fed daily. One of the big things that we have done as a Commonwealth is we provide free school lunches and free breakfast, which has made a huge difference in our student population, in their behavior, and just the way that they go throughout their day. It's really changed. I have lots of friends that are educators, and how it's changed their student population. So these are things that are very important to us in Massachusetts, and we're going to keep these things. We do have a big rainy day fund, but that's not going to plug the hole that's coming. So we're looking at different revenues now. But funding changes from the federal perspective, which my committee handles, on a daily basis. Harvard has had all their funding, a lot of funding taken away, then it was just reinstated. And so it's a ping pong table. Did that answer the question? Probably not.
It does, though. It's also, I don't know how the room feels about this, but I'm honestly relieved that there's a group of people just trying to keep track of it. And so that amazing groups that are doing the hard work of keeping some of these things going, you're there to help. You're there to, while the news you may be delivering may not always be good, at least it seems like you're there to partner and help these folks along.
Our most vulnerable population is really who's being affected the most.
Yep.
And it's how are we going to protect that? And part of that is our students and our seniors, our older people. So that is what my role is.
Whew, goodness. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. For everybody, really, and James, maybe we'll start down on your end of the table there. How are you thinking about funding today? And this could be a question for you personally, as well as the work that you currently do within your role inside of MassTech.
Yeah, so, one of the reasons why we're standing up so many initiatives right now is because the Healy administration had the foresight to pass that economic development bill in the fall, right? And I'm not just kissing ass here, I really believe this. Considering the current climate, it's a genius move, right? Because it ensures that to a certain extent, our research and development engines aren't going to shut down, and we're going to be able to create the spaces where the next generation of technologies are going to be developed. So I don't think we're going to lose as much ground as we would have otherwise. And I know she's also got, there's an ambition to get another tranche of funding to kind of backfill some of the unexpected losses that we've experienced here in the state.
Absolutely.
And the capital dollars pay for infrastructure, and we also have access to small amounts of operating dollars, and a lot of times those are some of the more important dollars that we can put out into the field, because it allows us to really get those proof points, support the pilot projects that prove out the larger concepts that we can then backfill with infrastructure dollars and really stand up large initiatives.
That's so interesting. Yeah, there's definitely a flywheel of funding and the opportunities there to be really smart about at what point do you actually engage organizations, startups, et cetera, to then actually identify things like the septic project, which you would never probably have uncovered had you not spent, a small amount of cash to just uncover the opportunity. Yeah. That's huge. Anthony, from the aquarium's perspective, maybe what's changed for the organization's funding strategy, and then what are you looking at as you look out into the 2026 landscape?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think this is something that we kind of concluded on last year, and we're looking forward and not sure where we were going to land. And now over the last, feels like 4 years already, but it's been 10 months. We have some better insight. Government shutdown aside, we've seen what the president's sort of rescissions look like and what the rollbacks on some of the initial spendings are. And certainly for an institution like the aquarium, who's ocean-focused, and education-focused, NSF, losses at NSF, NOAA, the Institute for Museum and Library Services all have broad-based impacts. We've been mostly fortunate this year. We have about 10% of our total budget comes from federal funding sources. I think as Lena had pointed out earlier, it's not substantial. It's not insignificant, and most of it goes directly into our research programs. We've been trying to diversify more into the government space over the last few years. During the pandemic, we learned really quickly what relying on revenues, like door revenues, can do to an institution. And now we're rethinking about this funding immediately as government funding sort of disappears. And as we look into 2026, we see the president's budget, which more or less eliminated NOAA funding and NSF funding completely. Congress has sort of rebuilt that, and we don't know where that's going to land, but it's not, we're looking at maybe 25% cuts across the board to ocean sciences, which is relatively high. But we've been fortunate here in Massachusetts, as the rep pointed out, that there's already work going on here at the state level, whether it's through the Mass Ready Act, the Drive Act, and a couple other bills, the biodiversity commitments that the governor just released a couple weeks ago. And then I know the legislature is diligently working on all of these, and we'll see these over the next probably 6 to 8 months now. I guess it's a year now. And those are really good, reassuring commitments that allow us to be certain that the state is going to step in. We know that they can't supplant everything, but help us out with supporting a lot of this. And then obviously we're trying to turn to the private sector as well. I think Lena mentioned, we received a $9 million gift from the Schillers just this past week to help support our Balanced Blue Lab for the next 5 years, which is awesome, but it's also, with the range of cuts, making it hard in the philanthropic space to really backfill, because there's like a tribalism that comes into play, and people are playing into their spaces and their strengths. So it's harder to sort of grab some of that money.
I imagine there's also like a long line at the pipeline queue,
Exactly.
right, of any of these private donors, or just, diversifying funding sources is great on paper as a set of words, but achieving it and getting those dollars to actually come into your organization, that's got to be challenging.
Yeah, extremely challenging, yeah.
I hear from a lot of nonprofits, and those dollars are less because they're spread more thin,
Right.
or they're just sticking with one organization. So I do hear a lot of that from the nonprofits.
Thank you all. Representative Badger, anything to add on the funding topic?
I mean, I just think it's again, going back to that collaboration. I mean, we're gonna have to work together with public and private funds, the grants and everything that are available, but the nonprofit dollars or philanthropic dollars are not there as they once were.
Gotcha. All right, I appreciate it. How are we doing on time?
30 minutes.
Oh, amazing. Well, fam, I hope you're prepared for some Q&A, because we built in extra time as the last panel of the day to make sure you all walked away with something that was relevant to you. So if you have a question, come on up to either of the mics. I'm sure there will be a lovely human being that will also run to the back of the room if needed.
I'm a lovely human being.
Thank you so much, Stephen. You are the loveliest human being. Thank you, thank you.
President Cox.
Hi.
Hello.
Give us your name, who are you with?
Date of birth, social security.
Well, today I'm John Cox, and I'm with Cape Cod Community College.
All right.
And on that note, I'll leave. No, James, you hit a nerve when you talked about the septic system testing center. We are very intimately involved at Cape Cod Community College with them, having worked with the Gates Foundation on the Reinvent the Toilet initiative. We actually have the toilet of the future on our campus.
I've used it.
It's so cool.
I want to hear more. I feel like we all need a follow-up of what is this, describe it.
Just a little history. If we go back to 2012, the Gates Foundation had an international competition to look at the toilet and the technology associated with it, realizing that in hundreds of years, the technology has not really changed.
Yeah.
So they had a global competition. Caltech won the competition. They developed a closed-loop electrolysis treatment system that basically reduces the solids, recycles the liquids. We worked with Caltech We also worked with DCAM when we did our new Science and
Nice.
Engineering Center. We actually installed the technology in our building. This is the first commercial application of this technology in North America. It has been in place for 3 years now. We're now working with the Gates Foundation to do the next iteration. They're going to do some tweaking. Hopefully the maintenance aspect are going to be reduced. And we're working on the global impact of this technology and how we can push it out to more people.
This is
But the-
incredible.
The
And
cooler part, you can watch it, you can look at
You
it.
can. It's
in glass.
the treatment system is behind the glass. The
No,
toilet
it's not the
wait.
toilet.
Many of us
The
want
treatment
to
part.
clarify.
The waste
You don't get to
part.
use
perfect.
it in a
That's what I wanted to
see-through
say.
bathroom,
Sorry.
right?
you,
The bathroom is private.
Okay, great. Okay,
But the treatment part of it is, you can see through glass, like what it looks like, not the
got it.
one of the underlying
poorly
beliefs
said,
here
sorry.
was that when you go to use the toilet still looks the same. It's what goes on behind it
Okay.
that's very different.
Now,
So it's-
you stepped up to not just introduce yourself and tell us where you're from, but also because you had a question.
Well, yeah. But I like to throw in a few extras of that teaching and learning. How are we progressing with the Bright Act?
Ooh, what is the Bright Act?
The Bright Act is, it taps the funding through the Fair Share Amendment.
Okay.
It puts, I believe it's $125 million into debt service that would support higher ed's ability to borrow money to the tune of about $2.5 billion over the next decade. And the hope is, once it passes,
Okay.
DCAM will then be able to move forward with the large capital project request that we can begin to entertain large capital projects, including potentially something at the airport.
So it's in higher ed, and it's still, my understanding, it's still in the committee. We haven't voted it out of the committee yet.
No pressure, I don't mean
I know.
to.
That's why we're
come
here.
in peace.
That's why we're here.
Yes.
Okay, well,
But if I have information, I'll let you know.
keep us in mind.
Perfect. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Who else?
Anyone in the back of the room? Oh, we got a hand over here.
Come on up to the microphone.
Oh, we got one right here, Stacey.
Oh, beautiful.
Thank you. My name's Christina. I'm with Mass CEC. I had a question actually spurred by your comment about the school lunch programs, which, is a great idea, and we're trying to spread it and keep it funded and whatever. It's also a historical idea, right? So school lunch programs started in Boston in the 1890s. So obviously this conference is focused on the future. We're talking a lot about the future and the present. And so my question for you is, looking back historically to the past, are there examples of policy or initiatives or programs that you look to for, inspiration for what you're trying to do now?
That's a great question.
It is a good question. It is yes. The short answer is yes. We're always looking back. We're also looking at different states throughout the country. I have legislation that mirrors legislation from Colorado. We're grabbing not only from the past, but what's happening in other states. And that's where we get some of our ideas from, or somebody will bring it from us. A lot of our legislation comes from constituents. Someone that has an idea, or they're thinking something and they meet with us, and then we meet with legal, and that's how a lot of that is drafted as well.
If I can jump in, something I was thinking about today was the power of the states coming together and what's actually happening from a public health perspective, and that all of the governors have said, the governors that believe in it, that like factual facts and not fake facts, are coming together to actually create an interesting level of consortium. Are there other instances where either of you, or any of you, quite frankly, at the table, are hearing about more of those sort of like grassroots at the state or local government level, and maybe some of it is inspired by things that we saw in the past at other moments of like heavy, heavy change? And leaf blowing is here for a soundtrack.
Well, we did.
It's Halloween.
It's like like collaboration throughout the House or the Senate. We have caucuses where we do, but we belong to Women in Government, and that's women across the country that we all meet with, and we meet twice a year. we also Zoom throughout the year, but we have 2 conferences, and that's where we all come together, and those are centered mostly on women's issues. We have a women's caucus at the State House, and we have priority legislation that there's 60 of us, there's only 60 of us out of 160 reps and 60 senators, so 40 senators. Out of 200 people, there's only 60 women legislators. But it's getting better. It's getting better. It's getting better. But that's how we collaborate, some of the ways.
Yeah, and we work across, we have trade associations and industry partners and research partners that we work with nationally, whether it's through AZA, the Aquarium Conservation Partnership, that we try to sort of jointly work together to create policy moving forward. Somebody had mentioned earlier, I don't remember if this was Steve or our sea turtle rescue and rehabilitation program, and we're part of a broader sea turtle stranding network that works nationally, all down the coast and in the Gulf, to sort of rescue and rehab these turtles. They get trapped actually right here in Cape Cod Bay. They're cold stunned, they wash up on the shore. We take them in, we rehabilitate them, and then as weather warms, as they heal, they are either transported out for release or further treatment or released down on Cape Cod. And we've partnered with aquariums across the country to create a bill that would help create funding programs for that, similar to what exists for marine mammals. So we work pretty collaboratively in both the public and private space to develop out that legislation. And I know the governor's office does this all the time, right? Like all the energy goals in Massachusetts are in collaboration with like interstate agreements, including the offshore. I'm sure that's changed a little bit, but including the offshore energy goals.
That's super interesting. James, you mentioned the disability program that's going to come online soon. Are there specific moments of inspiration? Is there a conversation? What leads to new programs from Mass Tech Collaborative?
Yeah, so for us, a lot of times, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right?
Yeah.
So like it's when people recognize that they have an opportunity at hand that they don't necessarily know how to leverage, right? Or they don't know how to engage the appropriate ecosystem. So I think that's, the Perkins School for Blind is probably better than most in this instance, right? Because they recognized that, they had a unique population that had unique needs. And they saw all this technology development being around here, and they recognized that, that technology can be brought to bear to assist and improve the quality of life of their unique population, right? So that's a pretty kind of almost a low-hanging fruit opportunity, and that the opportunity was so obvious. But you do need that first mover, the person who's going to recognize the opportunity and bring it to everyone's attention. And we have, that's what we try to do, but it's not easy, right? Well, there's only 12 of us at the Innovation Institute. We can't, so it's always great, like again, the septic system project, that was like an obvious opportunity.
Yeah.
So for us, finding those hidden pockets of technology and innovation and finding those key stakeholders who aren't afraid to fight for their grand opportunity. Sometimes those people can be really annoying, right? But sometimes you need an annoying person in that position to really keep driving the opportunity.
There's always a reason behind persistence.
Yes.
Speaking of, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I was going to elaborate on the connection piece. So I have a bill to not allow horseshoe crabs to be used as bait. And in fact, I'm currently working with a legislator from Rhode Island who got a similar piece, not the same, but similar piece of legislation passed in Rhode Island a couple of years ago. So there's a lot of that.
What are those conversations like between you and that other congressman from Rhode Island? Are you just trying to understand, how did it work? How did it go? What were your
I mean, he was just, I didn't know about his bill until after I filed mine and had a.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Then someone shared, it came from a constituent, so, and we just kind of talked about like what his bill did versus what he hoped that my bill would do versus his hope to eventually get to that place. His bill is no medical use of the blood out of horseshoe crabs, so that's what his bill does in Rhode Island, but he wished at the same time that he did the removal of the bait. But mine is just the removal of the bait, horseshoe crab as a bait. Because there are other, like you can use green crabs and other things like that. And green crab is invasive, so it's a way to get rid of an invasive species.
I feel like this is also a moment for AI to help us just scan the world, scan all of the U.S. I'm thinking about a specific crab legislation, what is happening or has happened out there, but it's fascinating to hear all these touch points and how it happens together.
And we're not afraid to use AI, and sometimes that we will do that. And
Yeah.
one of the things when you collaborate with someone from another state, and you're looking, as Michelle's bill, you want to look who opposes that bill. Because you may think it's, and your colleagues may think, well, this is just simple, who would oppose this?
Right.
But I had a bill that was being worked on for sessions and sessions, it was almost a decade, and it just passed last year. But until I stopped and was like, who is opposing this? And then you work with that side.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't know who it is. It could be, we just had a thing on Kratom, and the opposition is from a different state, but yet they're zooming into every Board of Health meeting here in the Commonwealth. So you really need to get to the opposition if you want to get something passed.
And there's actually a bill, I don't know the number of it, but there's, I believe, an AI bill currently in front of the House that was written by AI.
Oh, yeah.
It's 2025, y'all. Okay, this wonderful gentleman has been waiting to ask his question. Please step up to the mic and
Right,
tell us who
Bill
you
Dave.
are.
Hi, I'm Matt Delaney, and I am very interested in the Blue Economy Education Fund, so I think this might be for Kathy. This bill is pending right now, or can you give me a little more information on that bill? It
Sure,
sounds
it's
very
been
intriguing.
heard in the hearing, we've heard that in the hearing, and it's in Ways and Means right now.
What
So
is
it's been voted
that's
out
in the
favorably.
House? It's a House bill, or?
Mine bill is a House bill,
And what's the name or number of that?
H988, I believe. Yep. Oh, look at that, I remember.
It's so good.
How's it going?
It's going really well, so
Yeah.
I
So
was
is it
lucky
in
enough to
committee
have,
already, or?
I think it'll be great. This is our second session filing it. We
Oh.
had all of my wonderful friends from the New England Aquarium came and testified with me on the bill. And it moved favorably out of that committee, and now it's in Ways and Means.
I gotta
So
look
if you
that
want to
up.
write a letter to Ways and Means, how you support this bill, that would be very helpful.
I can do that.
Thank you.
Okay, nice to see you.
Thank you so much. Come on up. Oh, okay, fantastic.
Thank you. Steve Brandt from Insure Corporation. I'm going before him.
Thank you.
For Representative Lenatra, very interesting, and thank you for doing the chairing the committee on federal funding. That's extremely important, and it's new. What's success to you with that committee? What kind of outcomes are you looking for from there?
That's a very good question, Stephen. So just to let everybody know, Stephen and I went to high school together and haven't seen each other in decades, so I ran into him here. But what would be successful to me?
Small town love.
Small town love.
Big national goals.
Success for me, really, is being able to get the information disseminated within the House, right? Within the House and within the Senate as soon as possible so they can share with their constituents and know what is coming up the pike, right? So they're well prepared before something actually hits and before they start getting 300 phone calls a day about something. So, it's really a minefield. I'm not going to lie. It's a minefield, but the quicker we work with our federal delegation very, very closely on a daily basis. So as soon as we get the information, we're able to spread it out to our House members and our Senate members so they can best deal with their constituents and what's coming up the pike for them. So that, I guess, is success. Thank you, Stephen. My other friend, Stephen.
I love that. Absolutely. Thank you so much. All righty, sir. Come on up.
My name is Randall Lyons. I'm with the Mass Marine Trades Association.
Excellent.
And I've worked with Rep. Badger on the boating caucus, and she's helped some of our kids in boating programs. And I am actually Anthony's vice chair and Rep. Lenatra's cheering academy. So I am here to do a shout out to Rep. Lenatra and a success story, and more than likely maybe on the bill she was just talking about. But for those of you who don't know, a safe boating bill was passed in Massachusetts this year. And we were one of the last states in the country to not have a bill on the books. The bill is called the Hansen-Malone Act, and it was in legislature for 12 years.
Yes, wow. 12
And it
years.
finally passed in January. It officially goes into effect April of next year. And it'll make a requirement for boaters to have a license on the waterways in Massachusetts and will eventually lead to lives saved. So a shout out to Rep. Lenatra for all of the work on that for the last 10 plus years.
And to you. So when I mentioned the opposition,
I was wondering.
and now we're best friends, see? So, and it passed because we learned how to communicate and compromise and knew that safety comes first. It just, to many of you, you get your permit, right, for your driver's license, and a car has brakes. Well, I'm someone that grew up with a boat. My parents had a boat, and we learned very young on how to navigate a boat, and going through Hull Gut in a storm is how my father taught me, if anybody is familiar with boating. But a boat doesn't have brakes, and you could just be somebody, and what happened during COVID is, we were all isolated, and one of the ways you could be isolated was out in a boat. So if you had some money, you could just buy a boat and just, there you go, without any training. So this will save lives, and I'm very happy to have partnered with Randall to get that passed. Thank you.
Excellent. Other questions? Michael?
Oh, no.
This question's for James. So Mike Hale, Town of Plymouth. James, you had referenced the new AI program that you've rolled out and how circular economy was a surprise. And you referenced that Mass Tech is currently tracking trends within blue economy and kind of expecting some proposals that will be coming up in the future. I was wondering if you could share with us what you expect to see over the next couple of years and some exciting developments with technology that could potentially getting some funding.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we're implementing the state's version of the EDA Tech Hub program. I think, like I said, in the next month or two, you're going to see a pretty big announcement related to blue economy coming out of that. May or may not be focused in New Bedford. And then one of the things we're looking at, so I guess 3 things that I'm kind of focused on for the future, right? So sensor development and deployment, of course, and the data generation and analysis that comes out of that. We're hearing loud and clear the need for more testing facilities, test bed facilities, primarily those on the water. I would argue that we don't have the complete universe of existing facilities captured, and nor have we made it easy to access the existing facilities. So I'd like to see some activity to kind of handle that problem before we start building new ones, right? The last thing we want to do is kind of waste state resources on redundancies, so I'm hoping we can get a better grasp on what exists and where the shortcomings are. And then we're also we're looking hard at digital twins. We think that's going to be a big part of the blue economy going forward. Again, I think you'll see some announcements related to that coming in the next couple months. I know that I've also got a proposal from UMass Dartmouth, including a partnership with New Zealand that's focused on digital technologies that will develop digital twins. Initially focused on aquaculture, but obviously, those technologies will have implications across the blue economy.
Fantastic. Did I see we have one question over here? Thank you. Come on up. Tell us who you are.
Lena Weiss, first time caller.
Feel free to tilt that mic towards your face. Yeah.
This is mostly to annoy Anthony. With all the increasing sort of priorities with federal cuts, how do we keep progressing at a state level on the blue economy work and technology in general?
Like, how do we focus it on the state level? Well, I think
maintain the focus.
Yeah, well, I think we've tried to do a couple things internally at the aquarium. And just to be clear, Lena, I'm not Bill Nye, so you're asking the wrong person the question. I think you learn when you're setting policy how to try to communicate to your audience and who the policymakers are at the time. And so when we saw this federal shift happening, we wanted to be clear that there were ways to communicate conservation and the economy as being specifically related. And so some of it was a framing piece on the state level, but also we've been fortunate in maintaining relationships across the legislature. We've got great relationships here in Plymouth with both the reps here and then Senator Fernandez as well, and in-house leadership as well, and sort of maintaining those relationships to be sure that we can leverage those when the policies have the opportunity to move forward. And then, of course, working with the governor's office to sort of set a whole range of our agenda, and we were able to bake in some of that into the biodiversity bill, report, which was an incredible experience working with Fish and Game on that specifically, and sort of elevating a lot of the science and research that Lena does and Michelle does, and our team at Anderson Cabot as well. So that's that's it. It's maintaining relationships and making sure that we keep our narrative and priorities targeted.
So I think you're kind of piling on here, Anthony.
Oh, no.
I think you guys also partnered with See Ahead on the Blue Swell
We did,
program,
yeah.
right? You guys have supported a lot of great startups that are building here in Massachusetts, and I think that's going to help with the funding in that you're going to attract more VC to the state. So I think you're to be commended for those programs, and See Ahead's to be commended for the work they've done in the few short years that they've been here as well.
Thanks, and I think we all mentioned the idea of the life science bill sort of becomes the framework for a lot of this, right? And now working to try to have the state emphasize that in different sectors, and the blue economy being one of those. And we already see it in some places. There are plenty of pieces inside of the environmental bond bill, in the Drive Act, I think even in the Bright Act too, that are already focused in on these and now trying, it's sort of a narrow space in a way, but sort of trying to highlight those and grow them out from there.
Come down to Rhode Island where we have Region Craft.
I'm from Rhode Island, so I don't need to go down there.
That's awesome. There's so much good stuff happening. Any other questions? Yes.
Hi. So talking about circular economy and specifically closed loop systems, are there any initiatives that you guys are particularly excited about on the state level or any level? Just curious, want to know.
Thank you.
Initiatives, well, I think James mentioned an initiative earlier that they
Well,
funded.
yeah, so our project's just getting up and running. We think that'll be a great proof point. Like I said before, I don't have too much experience with the circular economy. I know that Tufts University has ambitions, again, in the apparel and clothing area. They're actually doing some really interesting things there. But beyond that, it's not really my expertise.
And I think for us, our bill is one of them, but the idea was that, to James's point, is trying to grow this into sort of some of the state planning. Part of the bill would grow it into the waste management plan for the state specifically. And so trying to grow emphasis, because I don't know if there has been a lot on the state level yet. And I think based on some of the work BBL did with upswell programs, sort of using that to build the foundation for the state to grow into.
There's also like specific overlaps. I'm thinking of, I don't remember what state the startup was from, but they're working on shrimp leather made out of the discarded shells. So it even comes down to aquaculture and food production, right? And we're sitting on some stinky shrimp shells. What are we doing with it? We can make an alternative fabric to then be able to create different durable goods. So there's a lot of interesting things happening out there.
Yeah. So we're actually working on one of the other clusters we think is one of the clusters of the future is a bio-industrial manufacturing cluster, which is non-pharmaceutical, biotech, right? So it's, skincare products, it's food alternatives, it's plastics alternatives. And we're looking hard at how the blue economy might contribute to that because, I think Iceland has 100% fish program where they utilize all the byproducts for, non-traditional usage. And we think that there's a big opportunity for the blue economy there.
Absolutely.
To help leverage some of the traditional fisheries, and develop, new fisheries that can contribute to that bio-industrial manufacturing cluster.
Absolutely. Stephen.
We have time. Oh, no, I wasn't waving. I was just seeing if anyone had one more. We have time for one more question. You guys have answered all the questions.
We did it.
Can we have a round of applause for our public policy panel?
Thank you all so much, and thank you again for the opportunity. I hope you all enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed having more time to hear the relevant questions and have an opportunity to discuss with our incredible panelists. So thank you all also.
Thank you, Tracy.